Hey guys, this is going to be my out-of-box review for the Dragon Momoko 1/100 scale Master Grade Tallgeese III. This is not a Bandai kit. This is made by Dragon Momoko. It's a third-party manufacturer, so this is a kind of knockoff kit based on Bandai's Tallgeese I, and they've designed some parts to make this into the Tallgeese III. Now, before I get into reviewing this anymore, I just want to show it here so you can see that this is a good looking kit. I mean, before we get into talking about any pros or cons of the kit, and it's definitely got plenty of both, I think there's no denying that it definitely looks fine. Even though this is even just a out-of-box build, I haven't even done anything to it yet. So, that being said, there are ups and downs, and we're going to talk about that. So, here it goes. Other thing I want to mention first is that I want to focus on just talking about this kit first, and then it'll probably be a second video, a separate video, of actually talking about how the two compare, the Dragon Momoko version and the Bandai version. So, this kit, one thing I noticed that I want to say before I forget is that while I was watching Prime 92's video review for this kit, I noticed that her plastic was a different color than mine. And the color that I'm talking about is the light gray color, and that would be on like the feet, the hands, the inside of the shoulder armor, a lot of like the secondary main color. So like the main color is all white, which is the same, and then the accent color is blue, which is the same. Like the secondary color is different on mine. It's a much lighter color. Mine's just like barely off-white. In Prime 92's video I saw on hers, it was like a medium gray. Not that dark, but anyway, definitely different from mine. So that's one thing I'm not sure about. When you get this kit, I don't know which color you would get. I don't know if there's any way to tell without being able to ask whoever you're buying it from about that first, if it matters to you. If you're going to paint it, it doesn't matter, but if you're not going to paint it, it's something you might want to find out first. So, secondly, let's just talk about the pros of this kit, the good things, and there are plenty of good things about this kit, aside from the really nice box art and instruction manual that I showed in the unboxing video. The main pros of this kit are going to be all the extras, aside from this being a Tallgeese III, which was previously unavailable. It's going to be coming from Bandai, but there's some things that you're going to be getting with this kit that you're not going to be getting with that one. So let's just talk about what's new with this kit. We've got this shield, the Tallgeese III shield. From what I've seen so far of the Bandai Tallgeese III, this one looks almost identical. There's not really going to be a whole lot of difference in the shield from what I can tell. The shield just attaches here on the shoulder. Underneath we've got a handle, and then the two beam sword handles just attach in there like that. So we've got some pretty good detail inside there. I don't remember what the old 1/100 scale looks like for this kit, but if I remember correctly, this is definitely more advanced, more detail than what we had in the old 1/100 scale. So maybe if someone has that, they can check and let me know. Now, we've also got the heat whip. Now this is the non-heated version, obviously. It's basically just copied from the Master Grade Epion, and I have just got this is 1/3 of it, of the whip. We've got 3 runners of parts like this. I just really couldn't be bothered to put them all together at this time. I just did one runner, But if you can imagine this times 3, that's how long it's going to be, pretty long. And of course, like the Epion, it can be straight like this, or if you pull it out just a bit, then it just loosens up and then you can bend it. So you just pull it out a bit, like that. Oops, not too much, gotta be careful about that. And like that, and there you go. And now it's curved. And this just plugs in to the end of the shield, like that. And there you go. And so if you can imagine this much longer, and it doesn't really have any weight issues. It's as short right now, but even with the longer one, I can imagine you wouldn't really have much trouble posing this and keeping it up like that unless you've got it in some really extreme angle. Now, of course, you can take that off and just take off the tip and have just the end of the heat whip sticking off the shield like that. Now, that you're going to be getting with the Bandai kit, and it's probably going to be exactly the same because I'm sure Bandai will probably also just copy it from the Epion. So, not going to be much difference there, but one difference you get with this kit is you get a heated version. This is clear orange, and you will not be getting this with the Bandai kit, as far as we know at this point. So, this, again, this is 1/3 of the length. We get 3 runners of these parts. I only built 1 runner. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. You're going to actually have 15 pieces. Same thing, pulls apart. And it was cool that the kind of polycaps, they're harder than polycaps, but the polycaps that are in there are clear orange also. So it's all clear orange. That's cool. Just pull it apart. This one I'm trying to be a little bit more careful with because it is clear plastic, and clear plastic tends to be more brittle. So we'll just be a little bit more careful, but as you can see, looks very cool. And same thing, just plugs into the end of the shield like that for a heated heat whip. Very cool. So that's that. Go ahead and put that away, put that down. On the other side, we've got the Mega Launcher, Mega Beam Cannon, whatever it is. And this, let me go ahead and take this off. Now this is in its like closed, inactive, I guess, mode. I think actually it can actually fire like this, but to be at its maximum potential, it does open up. So first thing you got to do is just pull out these ends here, and they are a little bit curved open like that. That's kind of too bad. I wish they were perfectly straight, but it's not really too big of a deal. Pull those out, and then just open this. Oops, pop that off. Open this like that, and there you go. And this, like the shield, I believe this is different. This is not just a copy of the old 1/100 Tallgeese III mold. I believe this is a new design, or at least it's changed from the old one. It's got these hose parts on here. Here's the handle, which is on an arm that can move quite a bit. It's got quite a bit of articulation there, so that's pretty nice. And here's just the attachment point. This part in the back moves for no real apparent reason, just for fun, and it's not very tight in there, so just be careful. But it's fine, it doesn't normally just fall out on its own. Now, once again, this is what you're going to be getting with the Bandai kit. The Bandai's version is a little bit different design, but not a whole lot different. Now, the other unique thing about the Dragon Momoko version is that we're getting this effect part for the beam cannon. So this is going to go in here, like so. Ta-da! And there you go. That was my first time doing that, so it took a little bit longer. But it really isn't too difficult. You just have to slide the back tab in first, and then the tabs in here plug in. Now, like I mentioned about these being not particularly exactly straight, so you do get a little gap there in the end. What I would probably do later, whenever I work on actually finishing this kit totally, I would probably just cut this a little bit short so that it ends right where that little notch is, then you wouldn't actually notice that gap there and it would be looking natural. Anyway, but it still looks very cool, and it still is not something you're going to be getting with the Bandai kit, unfortunately. So that's really good for this, bad for Bandai. But here you can see just the size of the cannon when it's in its full length. There, it's taller than the Tallgeese, of course, very large. And that's basically it for its accessories. Now, we also have two of these pink effect parts for the beam sabers. Nothing too out of the ordinary there. They're just pretty standard Master Grade beam saber effects. So nothing special there. Now, so that's it for everything that's unique about this kit that you won't be getting with the Bandai kit. Now, just some other things to mention. The hands are the same, kind of wing hands, where they're just the fingers that are interchangeable. We've got open hands, closed fist, trigger fingers, and holding fingers. So all of them are there. That's good. Now, other pros of this kit is that the articulation is really, really nice. If you saw my previous video, I talked about the Tallgeese II. And like I said, I want to keep most of my comparisons for the next video, but I covered all the articulation of the Tallgeese in that video, and the articulation for this kit is exactly the same. There's no change in articulation because the frame and the majority of the armor is all exactly the same. Now, so that is basically it. One other good thing I want to point out is this, or good thing or unique thing to the Dragon Momoko kits. We've got these waterslide decals. Now these are pre-cut waterslide decals. They're very nice, and you do get some with the Bandai version as well, but not as many, and they'll be slightly different. So depending on which design you like for the waterslide decals, that might be something you want to think about as well. Now, let's talk about some of the cons of this kit, because it definitely does have them, as I discovered. Now, obviously the price and all of the extra stuff that you get that you don't get with the Bandai version, those are all really, really good. But it does have its negative points. Now, the first thing that you've probably noticed already is that stuff falls off. A lot of stuff is not secure on this kit. It's not as solid as a Bandai kit, of course. So we've got like this shoulder armor is really, really loose. All it does is just slide on there, and it doesn't seem to slide all the way on like it's supposed to, as close as it is, and so it's very, very loose. But that is something that's all it takes is a drop of glue to solve that, so that's really not a big deal. Where it is a big deal is the fingers. The fingers don't really stay in there very well, and I don't know whether it's the plugs, like the male part of the fingers is too big, or the female end in the hands is too misshapen, or what's the problem. But either way, somewhere in there the fingers don't want to stay in the hand very well, so that's kind of a problem. But once again, it's something that's not really too difficult to fix. You just make one end a little bit smaller, one end a little bit bigger, and they can fit in there fine. Another con is just the overall plastic quality. It's a little bit soft, and you definitely just have to be a little bit more careful with it. I didn't feel it's brittle at all, and plastic being brittle for me is the biggest problem. This is not really brittle, it's just soft, so just when you're cutting it, sanding it, you just have to be a little bit more careful with it. Another part that definitely everyone who's got this has noticed, the face and top of the head is super loose and just comes off. It doesn't really have anything that's holding it on there other than just a bit of friction. So this part, let me just bring it closer for you. It's all of this here. Ta-da! nice Leo face underneath, but we don't really want to see that right now. So just stay there. But once again, a little bit of glue and that's a non-issue. Where it is a big issue is here in these connection parts. The parts that connect the shield and the beam cannon to the shoulder armor. Now, as you can see, it's basically just a couple of polycaps and connection parts sandwiched between these two white pieces like that. These are really loose, and when you start moving them around, I move them around a bunch, everything just starts coming loose. This ball joint connection piece comes out of the polycap, the white pieces just come apart, and it's just not really good. The other problem we have is once we actually have the cannon attached on there, it's kind of hard to orientate the cannon in a way. That's another thing that always comes off is these hoses on the cannon. This one just behind the sight here, and I'm just going to leave that off, and these ones up here don't plug into anything on one end, so they're just kind of resting there. Once again, a little glue and it's not a big deal. But anyway, back to this connection. The way it is, it's kind of hard to move it in a way that the hand can hold it well. Luckily, the difference between this cannon and the Tallgeese I and Tallgeese II Dober gun is on the Dober gun, the handle is located just under the rifle, the gun. But here it's off to the side and it's articulated, so that makes it much easier to get the arm to hold it. As I mentioned in my Tallgeese II review just previous to this video, it's really hard to get the Tallgeese to actually hold the rifle in a good way. It's still a bit of a problem with this kit, especially with the previously mentioned problem with the hands, but it's much easier with this kit than it is with the Tallgeese II or Tallgeese I. So you are actually able to pose the rifle, the mega cannon, the beam cannon, whatever, you are actually able to pose it better with the kit. So it's not terrible. And then other problem is going to be here with these boosters on the back. Now they're really not a whole lot different. They're actually fine in their construction, but where they have a problem is that they don't want to stay open at all. You can open them up, but then it's not going to take them long for them to start sagging back down to being closed. Now luckily they're staying alright right now, but if you're like moving the kit around trying to pose it, they don't want to stay open as well. I probably look a little bit stupid right now because it's staying open perfectly fine, but I don't know, when you are actually working with the kit, it's not quite as strong. Anyway, well, as you can see, it looks alright. And the same with the Tallgeese I and Tallgeese II. The back skirt opens here. Well, let me focus so you can actually see that. While I've got this off, you can see that the back skirt opens like that. Oops. And see, there goes that shoulder armor I talked about. It's just barely resting on there. So let's put this back on, and maybe I think the last thing I'll talk about is here, this side skirt armor. It's got the same mechanism of using this peg that plugs into the side skirt armor and into the thigh, but it doesn't stay into both. Prime92 mentioned this in her video, and it's definitely true of my kit as well, so it's probably going to be true of yours. It really doesn't matter. It's really kind of a non-issue because you can still move the kit around and it still stays in there because the peg, that piece, the connection piece, is long enough that it'll still look like it's connected, but it's not really solidly connected in there at all. So just keep that in mind. I don't really understand why that is, but it just is. Now, the other issue, maybe the last one, I think, is that this kit cannot stand on its own very well. It can if you have it in a certain pose, but if you just want it in a pose like this, just standing normally, it has real trouble, and that's partially due to the same problems as the Bandai versions. It's just back heavy, but that's also due to all the joints just not being as strong and the plastic just being a bit soft. The polycaps are a bit soft, so it's just going to be a kit that you're probably going to have on some kind of action base. But if you're having the Bandai version, I don't know if that's really going to be much different anyway. Like just having it on an action base just makes it look better anyway. With this huge cannon, it's kind of necessary. So speaking of the cannon, that is a bit of an issue, of course. Like any kit that has a big gun, it's going to have some weight issues holding the gun up. Now, yes, it's a Bandai version might be a bit better, but of course, I don't have the fingers on there, of course, but it's still, the arm is still supporting it. And as you can see, that's about as high as you're going to get it. So it's not really able to hold it up very much. You could tweak it a little bit, change the pose so it looks like it's holding it better. And again, this is an issue that would not be very difficult to fix. But if you're just going to be building it just straight out of the box, just keep in mind that the cannon's heavy. It's not going to be able to hold it up that well. So just a couple last things I'll mention that I have realized that I have not mentioned yet. The cockpit does open, but like all Dragon Momoko and other knockoff kits, from what I've heard in Prime 92's videos, this is actually the first Dragon Momoko knockoff kit that I've built, so I don't know, but from what I've heard, you never get any pilots, so there's no pilot inside, but the cockpit does open. And one cool thing is that we'll just go ahead and take this off since it comes off so easily. The visor is a clear green piece. Now on the Bandai version, I'm not sure if that's going to be a clear green piece or if it's going to be white and it's just going to be a sticker. To be honest, I would paint that, so it really doesn't matter to me. But if you're not going to paint, it's cool that it's a clear green piece that looks better than a sticker, I think, in my opinion. And yeah, that's basically it for this kit. It's a cool kit. I think it's fine. The price is cheap. It's much cheaper than the upcoming Bandai online exclusive price is going to be. For this one, I think you're talking, sorry, focus that. For this one, you're talking, I think, $25 plus shipping. And for the Bandai version, you're talking like $50 plus shipping, I think. So yeah, this one is far from perfect. But you can always use the money you save to buy an action base and buy a little bit of glue, and this kit could be just as good. So yeah, let's cut the video here because this has gone on pretty long, and the next video I'll compare these two and see which ones are gonna have the upper hand.